Hello, everyone, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started this evening. If we can start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm the chairperson of the Board of Adjustment. We've got Dave Vogt, and we've got our newest member, Rick Hardy. He is here today, and then we have Dave Shuey on joining us via Zoom. So we have a quorum. First thing is to adopt the agenda. I'm sure you guys had a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
So can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
A motion to adopt.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Just
Aye.
Dave, just raise your hand. It'll be easier so I see you that way. Going forward. So the agenda is adopted unanimously. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. We have two items with regard to special requests or requests for variances. So I'm going to go ahead and let's get started with the first application that was done by McGregor Custom Homes for 7 Cullen Street. So if you want to, and if we go to the podium, just make sure you introduce yourself, and our attorney is going to swear you in that the evidence you give is.
Should we both stand there?
Yeah, go ahead and stand at the podium, because the microphone, that way we can make sure everybody can hear you, including the people that are on Zoom.
Super.
All right. Can you state your name for the record?
Sure, my name is Michelle Lee.
Michael Hempling.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth and whole truth and the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead.
Great, so thank you for allowing us to present today. My name is Michelle Lee. My primary residence is 408 Butyl Court in Sparks, Maryland. But our secondary residence, we are the blessed owners of the property at 7 Cullen Street. And we hope to flip that around in the near future so that we can say this is our primary residence. But for right now, this is our secondary residence. Thank you so much for convening this meeting to consider our request. We realize that each request that you receive requires your time and attention and your energy to focus on our requests. So we really do appreciate that it takes that kind of effort, and we really do appreciate the gravity of the work that you do, and appreciate what we're about to embark upon. My fiance, Michael Hempling, and I are here today to request a special exception to allow for the extension of our existing deck. It's the existing deck at that property for the purpose of regaining our view of the water that has been significantly impacted by new construction that has occurred in the past year on Cullen Street. So as a way of a little bit of background, we first, we love Dewey Beach, right? We love everything about it. We love the environment. We love the atmosphere. We love the beautiful homes and the dog-friendly beaches. That's what attracted us here. And we purchased our home in spring of 2021. We closed Good Friday in April of 2021. And we did that to provide a place for 3 generations of our family to come together, create great memories, enjoy the outdoors, and really have time while the grandparents are still able to really enjoy this beautiful community, as well as for us to enjoy the fun and the sun and the sand. And so if you could go to the slides. Kate, we just brought a couple of slides so we could show you some pictures. When we purchased 7 Cullen, that large DuPont estate was on the ocean front. And 7 Cullen was the second from the beach. So we enjoyed this historic, beautiful view. The nature of this home, this is taken from our deck looking towards the ocean. And the view from our home was just spectacular. The historic property really just was thoughtful about how they use that space, and we were able to see this glorious view of the ocean from our front deck. So as you know, since that time, the DuPont estate has been sold and subdivided into 3 lots. And those 3 lots have resulted in construction that's been ongoing for the past year or more. We didn't know how this was all going to play out, and certainly waited to see how the properties were built. And please don't misunderstand, our neighbors are lovely people, and these homes are lovely. They're just dramatic and innovative. And we think they're wonderful. And we know that the city has done a lot to monitor and regulate the construction of these homes. And that really the city's done a tremendous job while they're doing construction on possibly a historic endeavor of creating really large beachfront homes where historic property once stood, right? So we've been appreciative of all the things that have happened there. We're not here to complain about the new construction, and we're confident that the design and build and everything that they're doing is well within the regulations. And we're confident the homes will be beautiful when they're finished. But what we are asking you to consider is granting a special exception for us to regain a portion, just a little bit, of that ocean view that we lost during construction of that beachfront home. So you can see in the slide where the kind of the yellow points are, the yellow arrows are, the gray home is in line with that 18-foot setback. But as you can see, the concrete home on the front, on the beachfront property, is set out a little further, and it has taken some of that view. And it's our understanding that the current regulations permit that beach house on the beachfront home to treat that front as actually their side. And so they're well within the regulations to do that. And I believe, and I'm not an expert here, but I do believe that the setback then for them is only 12 feet versus the setback for us, which is 18. And so you can see that creates a very different view. And Michael, if you could maybe point out, come up to the mic.
I tried to keep the telephone or the 5G pole center on both of those because we had the picture before, so I shot the new picture. And then I tried to be fair of like how much it's encroaching into the half of our view there. So that was what I was trying to do with this picture.
So if you go to the next slide, Kate, and go one more. So what's happened is if you compare the old view that we had and the new view that we have, the determination that allows them to treat that side, that front from for our perspective, as the side of their home, allowed them to build this large structure and a solid wall. It's hard to see in this picture, and you might have it in the documents that we submitted, but there's also a concrete wall that extends, and we think it's going to be their shower. It's just us guessing, we don't know, but it kind of extends further out beyond the front of their home. And by doing that, it's, as you can see, it's taken a dramatic part of our view. And it's really significantly, and dare I say, negatively impacted our view of the water and really our ability to enjoy that outdoor space as much as we did when we first acquired the property. So what is the remedy? If you go to the next slide, Kate, we're asking you to allow us to extend our existing deck and permit it to extend 3 feet into the setback in order to regain a portion of our view. That's to say, our deck would be 15 feet setback if you would allow this exception, which is certainly not level with that front house, but certainly allows us to get a little bit better angle on that waterfront. And it restores some of the view that we lost. Sure.
So if I can pop the slide, what I was trying to show here is that's the existing on the left, which is the land. Them and the builders built beautiful land.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Jim McGregor is here with us.
This is our builder. We take pride in the house that he built, and we're staying with Jim to make it look all uniform when we're done. That landing, that would all disappear. And then the drawing is the best we could do is the way the deck would look, more open air to the way it is now. The other thing is we couldn't get a good picture, but the way the neighbors see, they'd be able to see through it a lot better than the deck landing that they have there now.
Right.
So that was just what I was trying to show.
Right, so in design, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, no, I just had a question. So the deck will extend only as far as where the current stairs are, is that right?
It'll actually be in.
It's actually in from,
About 2 feet in from that far left way on.
Okay.
So the current
So that-
stair, I'm sorry, just so I understand, similar question, just the current stairs are within the 18-foot setback.
No. So it's my understanding, and Jim, you'll correct us if I get this wrong. It's my understanding that within the current regulations, you can have those 5 steps be within the setback zone. And then the rise of the stairs is what then regulates the amount of setback. That makes sense. So what we would do is extend the deck. It would not extend, it would actually stop about a middle of that platform, that first landing, because we certainly are very, thoughtful about how much we would potentially not want to impact our neighbors, right? So our objective is to regain our view without causing harm to our neighbors. The design that we have, that we put in front of you, and it actually doesn't show you in the drawing, what we'll be doing is, first of all, it will not be a covered deck. So the roof line does not change. So that does not impede our neighbors at all. And secondly, we will be installing steel wire, not those spindles, because that will also allow for a lot more visibility for our neighbors through, if they were looking across our property, those wires will disappear essentially, other than just that handrail. And then thirdly, we're going to, as we said already, remove those stairs. And those stairs are essentially a solid obstruction to the view of our neighbors. And it's permitted within the rules, but if you take that out, certainly it'll improve their view as well.
Extra pro.
Yeah, it's an extra pro for the neighbors. It's a pro for us because we regain the use of the outside space. So it's a remedy for our view. It really does fit into the current design of this home, and it's really important for us to maintain the aesthetic of this property. We're not trying to make it, take on a different air or be super modern, but rather just fit in with the community. And then thirdly, of course, it's really minimal impact to our neighbors.
Excuse me.
Sure.
So you're going to remove the stairs,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Will that is that within ordinance? I mean, are you allowed to remove the stairs?
Yeah, they can do that.
Okay, I'm just asking,
They can.
are the stairs supposed to be there to get up to that area?
So what's happened is that in this home, in the way that the prior owners designed the home, there's actually a first floor ground entry
Okay,
already. So that's going to become our main entry now, rather than the second level. So when we acquired the property, the second level was the main entry and all those stairs were necessary. But by changing the configuration of that front door, thank you, Nate. So now
Stairs and the landings go away, and then you can see that there's sliders up there right now, and then the deck would come out a little further and extend it. And then on the left is Jim's great drawing there to make the house a little different,
Yeah.
but just as beautiful.
okay, thank you.
So in considering the exception, we realize that you may be concerned about setting precedent, right? That's always the concern that you have in a community. And, my perspective, and hopefully you share this, you make these rulings in a case-by-case basis, right? And each set of circumstances are unique and special to each request. By approving this request, I don't think you'll be setting a precedent for others, and I don't see that others will have similar circumstances. I can't imagine a scenario where you have somebody else who would have a large property that's subdivided that ends up being constructed in such a way. You're not going to necessarily have people with existing decks just saying, just give us back a little bit of our view. We have, as I said earlier, been really thoughtful about how it'll impact our neighbors. I didn't have the foresight to ask them to come and write letters, so I should have, but
That was my
Yeah.
next question.
I should have.
We got a lot of times. But it's a lot, and we're like, maybe we should have.
You should ask. I think it would easily made the difference. But anyway, so we didn't have the foresight to do that, but we've shared the plans with all of our neighbors, and they're really supportive. Just wanted you to know that. And so if you have the power to approve an exception that will make our property just so much more enjoyable for us, and really will remedy an unintended consequence that really damaged our view as a consequence of the construction that occurred on the beachfront. So I'll end where I started. I want to thank you for hearing our request, and we hope that you'll consider.
Do you have any questions, Rick?
Yeah, I mean, I have this precedent question all the time because eventually the home next to you will be torn down probably. And do they want to then build out 3 feet so they get a good view of the ocean as well? So, I guess, so I have to also just go through these questions around harm and things, these standard questions that we have to ask.
Right, but any questions for them?
I think, no,
So if I could just add
property looks good.
as context, I mean, we're not asking to build the solid, the actual footprint out. We're just asking to extend it, the elevated deck. So, and when you look at our street, actually, all the houses pretty much are relatively new. There's one maybe that maybe thinking about a reno, I'm not really sure. But again, you've got the beachfront property, you've got that new gray home we showed you, our home, the Staffords, which I think are very happy with their home, and they're very modern. Other home, what's their number, 13? So it's there's not a lot of
Not a lot of
homes on that street.
You have any questions? Dave Shuey on Zoom, do you have any questions?
I have, just to make this clear in my mind, the hardship that you are claiming is that you've
We have
Excuse me?
lost, the hardship is that we've lost the view.
you've lost a portion of your water. Right, okay.
And what we're asking is to have a portion of what's been lost, so not all of it, but a portion of it recovered by extending by 3 feet.
Any other questions, David?
Nope.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone here that cares to comment about this application? Hey, do we have anybody in the waiting room?
You have Steve Barczyk.
No questions here.
Did you have anything about this application, or were you here for the other application? Okay.
Steve?
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 He's good. He could have
Okay.
commented.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
No,
Make sure. Okay.
Steve is here. Can you hear me? I have no questions on this issue.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you have any, I didn't know if you were here for this application or a different application, so that's why I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity.
No, the other one. Thank you.
So, anyone else with regard to this application have any comments? I don't want to close this part of the, but, oh, wait.
David Moskowitz is jumping on. Hang tight.
Mr. Moskowitz, do you have a comment about this application?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I don't believe there's a hardship to these owners who bought the house. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't believe there's a hardship to these owners who bought the house in April 2021, just 2 years ago. It was published knowledge that the DuPont Estates, which sold the same month, would be rebuilt, blocking the view of this house when this house was sold. And even if you overlook the first test, allowing this would potentially block the view of the neighbors, or in theory, set a precedent allowing other people to block views of neighbors. And it would create a spiral of everything extending in decks to create a precedent. And then you have to say, they're saying there's a horizontal blockage. What about if there was a vertical blockage? Would you allow someone to add an extra story to compensate? So, I mean, I just don't see how losing a view when it's known is a hardship. And that's my comment.
Okay, thank you.
Can we swear him in after the fact?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jumped off? No, is he still there?
Yeah.
Like a ghost in the
Yes, that's not unusual. Anyone else want to comment about this? Do we have anyone else, Kate? Okay, I'm going to go ahead, let's go ahead and deal with the other application, and then we'll discuss each of them after. That way we can close the public hearing and move forward. So I have the other applicants.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm Hal Weeks from the law firm of Tunnel and Razor, and I'm here on behalf of Michael Davies and his wife Nicole. And they're the owners.
Just a minute, Mr. Diggs. We're going to have our attorney swear you in.
Okay,
Can you state your name for the record?
yes.
You did. Hal Diggs.
So we'll swear you in, obviously, but the testimony would need to come from your clients. And
That's
so,
correct, yes,
do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
All right, thank you.
Additional. Anyway, they're the owners of Unit 16, Building B and C Strand. And for the record, it's 334.20.10, 31.00, and it's in the NP district. The buildings were built after the March storm of 1962. You're familiar with them. They're all the same up there, the same size. In the course of events, when our firm put this together in 1964 for Mr. Fuchs, there was no building code in Sussex County, and it was decided, also there's no condominium code, and it was decided that we would just go ahead and strip these lots off. So each owner got a strip of land 16 feet wide and 185 feet long. Ironically, the land goes from the water's edge almost back to the lake. The Code of Dewey Beach does not specifically address this situation because these units are in violation of your setbacks on your yard. So my clients arranged to have some construction done and remodeling, and they're in the process of doing that. And the building official thought that it'd be appropriate to require a variance because the lot is only 16 feet wide. Obviously, any construction that goes within the 16-foot wide lot, there's no setbacks. And your zoning code for your district, your NP district, has setbacks. I think it's 8 foot on each side. Well, that makes this lot impossible to renovate, impossible to remodel. The buildings are 1966. So the general request from my clients is for the variance so they can go ahead and complete the remodeling. The building officials have looked over the plans, and the plans do meet with the building code as far as the structure and all the improvements being made inside. However, the exterior is where we are. This is not a unique situation to that particular development because most of the people are in the process of considering remodeling, and some have already remodeled. The important thing is, though, that it meets the criteria of the town zoning code of 185-60, and the extension is going to be the same as the other units. We're not increasing anything. And in that regard, we'd like to bring Mr. Davies in to testify on some certain facts, so you can have it for your record. Mr. Davies?
State your name for the record.
Michael Davies.
You can raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Now, to speed things along, we have a cheat sheet for him. So we're going to go through this.
Yes, we own, my wife Nicole and I own that unit. Yeah, our plan is not to extend the existing footprint of the building, but to, as many other owners have done, enclose the screened-in porch on the front, on the ocean side, and then add a half story on the top. It would be, I think each floor is 647 square feet, and the conditioned space in our new space would be about, so the total conditioned space is about 1,300 currently. And the new area that we're talking about adding is 514.
Will it increase the roof line, raise the roof line at all?
No, it's still the same, same ridge line.
And are your neighbors familiar with your plans?
Many of them are, yes, and I'm here in support, or one has come here in support tonight. We have 11 units in the row, and 2 have already kind of done equivalent additions. And we're looking at doing the same thing, and I think some of the other owners in the row are looking at doing the same thing too, considering if they can get the same variance.
Now, Mr. Davies, you reviewed this with the building official, and
Yeah, I mean, basically, she said that because of this, because each neighbor is, directly next to us instead of 8 feet next to us, we needed to do this variance to be able to do the bump up. And thus, that's why we're here today.
now is it, without being able to do that, would that create a hardship?
Oh, yes, we wouldn't be able to, do our plans without that.
Is the building outdated?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like the building was originally put together, I think, in the mid-60s. You're the historian, Hal, but, we're planning on upgrading. And also, I believe that this won't adversely affect anyone else's property values, but in fact, will kind of continue to enhance them.
You have any questions?
So the roof line on your property is lower than the roof line of all the other properties? Is that,
I think he said
It's
it's not
the same.
changed.
I'm sorry?
It's exactly the same.
So if you raise it, it'll be
No, it's not
higher?
getting raised.
Oh,
He said
Nothing
it
changes on
changed
the
the
roof
roof line.
okay,
This is inside the unit. It's underneath
Gotcha.
the roof,
Gotcha.
between the roof and the ground, I guess.
okay.
Because I think that question may have come because I had the same.
Yeah.
When you look at the drawings, it actually looks like the pitch is going up, where if you look at the rest of the condominiums that have developed there, are all the exact same pitch.
The pitch along the front of the building, all the way, all 11 units will stay exactly the same.
On the
The
back,
peak of
though.
the roof will be exactly the same on extensions of the shed back there over the area in the back.
Because it looked on the drawing, said it was actually come up to a 1-3 kind of pitch.
Correct, yes, on the back.
And I don't know if that's consistent with the rest of the building.
Yes. That will be a little different, but
Yeah.
everybody else is in the process of doing the same.
I walked that property today and it was like, seems a little different.
Yeah.
My other question is, so Dawn sent you for a variance. Is it on the half story? Because I also noticed on the application it says 3rd story.
No, actually it's not. The variance is only for the setback. In this district, there is an 8-foot setback.
Yes.
Of course, now there's a 0 setback because they're all units, they're all touching each other.
Exactly.
So that's why. Here.
Another building in Seastrand recently. Remember that Seastrand?
Yeah, the
Yes.
D, the D building is
Yeah.
Right.
asking.
Yeah, and they,
Right.
that was 2 meetings or something.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like we
remember
had this
something like
conversation
that,
before.
yeah.
They're double being.
Dave Shuey, do you have any questions?
I'm the half story that was just mentioned. The sound was not really great, but is it compliant then with the half story? Does the half story requirement apply in this zoning area?
My understanding is that it doesn't, the height is allowable, it's just because of the setback
Okay,
issue.
that's what I thought. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to see if there's any other public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Regard. Yes.
As a follow-up, when you issue a variance, of course, you have certain criteria. And in accordance with that, most of the criteria involves flooding, setbacks, things like that, flooding particularly. The contractor will not be storing large amounts of lumber on the site. As you know, this is one of the few sites in Dewey Beach. It was bulkheaded in 1963, and it's a massive bulkhead. It's a big creosote barrier there. This is set back from there, so there'll be no issues with the danger of flooding with the materials floating around in Silver Lake or whatever. Other than that, we think we've met all the criteria there. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
I don't.
Can you explain to me, just so I understand this half, how we come up with the calculation of half versus a full 3rd story?
I mean, I think it's just based on their plans, but.
That's what is
So if
established.
one story is 600 square feet, then the half story is limited to 300 square feet?
Let's get our expert. Dawn, are
Is
you
Dawn
there?
on there?
Yeah, she's there.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were there, Dawn.
Dawn, can you answer Rick's question?
I can explain.
Okay.
Dawn and I talked about this.
Okay, go ahead.
You've got a roof on a triangle. Only a certain portion of that is livable. The rest is
Right.
is like a knee wall.
Right.
Living space will be conditioned space on the third
Correct.
half story will be 500 feet, is that right? Square feet?
Yes. It'll be less than the others because you can only go so far out before the wall
Right.
slopes down.
But if it was the same, it would be considered a third floor,
They
which
would
we
call
no
it
longer
third floor,
allow.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
Dawn, is that
Hello,
correct?
can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
you can.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, very good, very good. A half story is something very, a concept that's very difficult for many folks to comprehend. It is really a design. It is not a square footage half of the story that's below it.
Okay.
Instead, it is a reduced height of an exterior wall. And so it reduces the size that can be put up on that third level. And there's certain criteria that has to be met in the respect that there has to be a sloping roof. It has to be above a full second floor or second story. And then the exterior wall that comes up out of this can only be 3 feet tall. But from that 3-foot tall area, there can be what's called a projection or a dormer. And that's where you would get, let's say, your bedroom space, your bathroom, whatever needs to be put up there. So that third level, this third story, is not 1/2 square footage of the story below, but instead it is a reduction of allowed space. And this is how the commissioners have chosen to keep that third story reduced by calling it a half story. So the certain criteria would need to be evaluated should you folks approve this increase to be able to go up to the actual property line, and forgetting about the 8-foot side yard setbacks for this strip of parcel. So then this half story would come into a plan review to make sure that everything meets that half story criteria. Hopefully that gives you some better information.
Yeah, that's
That's
great.
helpful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
Okay, in conclusion, for the benefit of our noted counsel here, the quick check case, for criteria established for exceptional practical difficulty, which is the reason why we're all sitting here today. The nature of the zone is for residential, that will not change. The character of the immediate vicinity will not change. You'll if you're walking down the beach, you won't notice anything except people be living there. And what kind of restriction would happen if it was not removed? Then my people could not update their unit. And finally, will it affect any of the neighboring units? The answer to that is no. So I think we've met all 5 criteria for the quick check case. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone, and you can come up to the podium, get sworn, and all that good stuff. We appreciate it.
State your name for the record.
Marin Hagan.
And do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. You may proceed.
So I'm a neighbor in the same row, in the B row, and I did this similar renovation, got a permit in November 2019, I think it was, right before COVID started, and completed my renovation successfully. And I think, all the public and neighbor comments that I've gotten have been positive. Went through all the proper steps, obviously, inspections, and have talked to Hal at length in the past about it in terms of enhancing everyone's property value. So it's, as long as everything is done properly and within code, et cetera, it can only make all of our property values go up. I haven't met anyone who isn't in favor of it in the community. We have 36 total owners in the community. I know the D row, I think, got approved in January to add a third story to theirs. So in the C row that burned down in 1996, where my parents own and another family member owns, of course, built 3 stories at that time. So I'm really just here to support them, say there's precedent and there's support in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Chairperson,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Dawn again.
Yes, Dawn.
The reason why these folks are before you today is not for a plan review of what they want to do, which in this zoning district, neighborhood residential, it can only be 2 1/2 stories. Their request is for a variance from the setback 8 feet on either side, and that's their request. They would still, should you decide to grant this, have to go through a plan review in compliance with that half-story requirement for this zoning district.
Right. And I think that's what we dealt with in January with the other building.
Correct.
So I kind of feel like we're like an old hat now on this with this, so. Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
Anyone else care to, do we have anybody in the waiting room that wants to, it doesn't look like anybody else has been added. Okay. We don't have anyone else popping in.
May I ask a question?
Sure. State your
Ask
name.
a question, please.
sorry,
I apologize, but my internet connect. This is Steve Bardzik. I've got unit number 11 in the C Strand.
Okay.
So, I apologize. My internet connection has been horrible. There's a storm coming through that it's been totally unstable here. I just want to clarify. Do I understand correctly that the footprint of the building will not be changed?
Right. That's my understanding. But again, this is just regarding the setbacks. So any building plans would have to still be approved by the town. This is just the side setback variance.
Yes.
Any other questions? Anything else, Mr. Barzak?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there aren't any other public comments, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of our agenda, and we'll move on to discussion. So, Dave, I'm going to start with you since you're on Zoom. Let's talk about the first application first that we've heard today. Who's Dave? Oh, there he is. He's just on mute.
He's right there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to start with you. We're going to start our discussion portion. So I wanted to see if you have any thoughts on with regard to the first application and the deck setback that we discussed earlier.
Well, I'm troubled in the sense that the new structures on the oceanfront seem to be or were approved and fully in compliance with the existing zoning code and building code. And so I have a hard time getting a handle on the hardship that the applicants have in terms of having lost a portion of their ocean view due to something that was built completely in compliance with the code. And it seems to me that if you grant this exception, then it is really, there is sort of a domino effect. And the idea that there's not going to be any more changes on the oceanfront, I don't think that that's something that any of us can safely think is going to be the case.
Yeah. Rick, do you have comments?
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think as we start to look at all of the oceanfront in Dewey, and especially North End, is going to start to change pretty
Right.
soon. And if we allow 3 feet into the setback, why do we have a planning and zoning that sets setbacks? I think, and then we allow exceptions. What's the next one? Does it want to be 6 feet out so I can see the ocean from the third house end? You know?
And I will say, like, I will say, we do take these case by case, so I
Yeah,
don't want, and we've had cases that were seemingly similar where we've approved one and denied another, so I know this is your first meeting, Rick, but I want to kind of remind everybody that I don't want to get too hung up on precedent, but at the same time, I also understand the concern, so. Yeah.
Well, when they were saying that they're going to tear down the stairs so that, and then put the deck above that, so there will be a view for people next to them, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, okay, now the top deck that you put in, will that block anybody's view? No?
Sorry, I don't know.
Okay, so, and how big is the deck going to be again? 3 feet out?
Into the setback.
That's up on the second floor, right?
Right. Basically, the stairs go away, but the deck comes out.
Right, and it would just cover half of where the stairs were.
Right.
Right.
Yes, my concern too is that I don't see I don't really know the effect of the units, of your neighbors, because without having it done. And I don't know that there's a practical difficulty of just losing some of your view. I mean, I know living where I live, I'm on the ocean block as well, and houses have gone up around me, and I used to have a great view from my back deck that it's like a sliver. Thanks, Mr. Dukes, that was actually one of your properties that did that. You know, there are other ways that the house can be renovated. I don't see that there is, that it really meets the level of a exceptional practical difficulty in this case. So those are my concerns as well. You guys, do you want to vote on this and then go on to discussion of the next one, or do that?
Yeah.
That'll be easier. So let's go ahead. Do I have a motion, or do you want me to do what I usually do? So do I have a motion that basically indicates that there's not an exceptional practical difficulty in this case to allow the additional setback to approve the variance required? Do I have a motion to that effect?
Motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Yes.
So all in favor to deny the variance?
Aye.
I apologize. I know that's not the answer that you wanted, but that's our decision in this case. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the other, I think the other one's kind of easier because we've already done this before.
Yes.
With regard to the variance to allow the setbacks so that they can improve their property. Once again, I believe in this case, because it is a townhouse, the 8-foot setbacks aren't realistic for a townhouse in order to renovate. So there is an exceptional practical difficulty in this case to allow the setback, knowing that any building will have to be approved by the town within the other issues or within the other building code. So do I have a motion to that effect?
To accept,
To accept?
yes.
So
Motion
to allow the variance?
Yes.
Based on what I just indicated?
Yes.
Okay, second?
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Unanimous to approve the variance with regard to the Seastrand application. So, so you guys are much happier than the last one. So I apologize. So anyway, with that, I don't think there is any other business for this agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Dave, thanks for joining us on
Dave.
Zoom. We appreciate it. And that'll do it.
you say?